When your metabolism is slow, your body starts using food and transforming it into fat instead of transforming it into fuel. Like, okay, gotta drop my calories again. So you drop your calories again. Metabolism starts to come down. And you keep doing this with every diet you've done in the past. You get more and more aggressive. And so now you're at a place where you're at 1,200, 1,400 as your maintenance. And so on anything you eat above that, you start gaining weight. This happened to me. I had to come out of it. As I started doing my reverse dieting, pulling back on exercise, I lost 7 pounds of inflammation super quick. And so all of that is gonna block your fat burning and overstimulate that growth and storage pathway. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the latest episode of the Metabolism and Menopause podcast, where we help you understand this new body of yours. Maybe you've started experiencing some hormonal changes, maybe you're post-menopause, but we know now that your body is inherently different now that you're experiencing all of this. And those old fat loss strategies just really aren't cutting it anymore. So now it is time to learn how to work with your body instead of against it so you can open up your fat burning pathways, get your energy back, and feel confident again. And so today, the topic I want to talk about was the do's and don'ts of reverse dieting to lose fat over 40. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is we have been doing a ton of free consultation calls. These are calls where you hop on with us. We assess everything that is going on, your stress, sleep, energy, digestion, past diet history, current diet history, hormones, all the things, and help you figure out how much should you actually be eating. What kind of exercise should you be doing? Are there any supplements that you need? Any lifestyle adjustments that we need to really figure out what is blocking your fat burning pathways? What is keeping you in that storage pathway? And how do we fix that? And we do that for free. They're 15-minute calls, not sales calls. And what I'm seeing is for a lot of women, you are doing a lot of the right things, but a lot of women are not eating enough. And so we have to do something called a reverse diet. And there is definitely a right way and a wrong way to do this, because the thought of eating more food sounds freaking terrifying. I can totally understand that. And so today I want to talk about what the reverse diet actually looks like, how to know if you need one. If you don't want to book a call, this will kind of help you understand if you actually need one, how to do it properly, the things that you should be cautious of if you're doing a reverse diet on your own, so that way you can feel confident moving forward. And then also, what to anticipate when you're ready for fat loss. What tells you that you're actually ready for a fat loss phase? Because there is nothing worse than cutting your calories and seeing no changes. That is so frustrating. And so I want to make sure that you don't end up in that position because you're probably there right now. So first of all, let's just set the stage. Maybe you've struggled with weight in the past, right? Or maybe it didn't happen until you got into the joys of, perimenopause, or maybe after baby number 2, whatever it might be, right? And you don't really feel like you've changed all that much, but suddenly you start seeing the scale go up and down, often more up than not, right? So that weight gain starts creeping up slowly, or maybe it's a little bit more sudden for some people. And we see it really accumulate in the belly, right? And you go back to those things that you used to do, the cutting calories, the cutting carbs, the cardio, doing the fasting, whatever it may be. But weight doesn't seem to come off that easily, if anything at all, right? And you also start feeling worse. We start struggling with our sleep. We start seeing these energy crashes. Maybe we start seeing more hormonal symptoms, like more hot flashes, a night sweats, more irritability, which you never used to struggle with, right? And the weight still keeps piling on, even though you're eating less and moving more and doing all the things that you used to do. And so this is where I find a lot of women get quite frantic, right? You get so nervous and you get very panicky, even desperate, right? And so you try keto, you drop your calories down to 1,200 calories. We start increasing our fasting window. We start doing even more exercise classes. You try some fat burning pills, different supplements, maybe Optavia, things like that, right? Going on GLPs. And for a lot of people, it doesn't work, or it's not sustainable, right? You lose a little bit of weight, then you gain even more back once you're done, and you're left feeling even worse, and potentially with more weight to lose than when you started, right? And so here is what's happening before you even hit perimenopause, because I know I was going to say we were talking about like 40 plus specifically, but this is what happens before we even get there, because we need to understand what state is our body in before we even hit this time in our life. And usually it's not that great, and it's because of our past dieting. Our metabolism has slowed down. So what this means is, maybe your maintenance used to be 18 to 2000, right? 1800 to 2000. That's your maintenance range. And so to drop calories, you eat below that, obviously, right? Awesome. So now there's a difference between calories in, calories out, and your body starts to lose weight. But what happens is metabolism, how many bodies your body naturally burns at rest, starts to slow down, and it comes down and it comes down, and boom, now we're not seeing changes. You're like, oh, okay, I gotta drop my calories again. So you drop your calories again. Metabolism starts to come down, and you keep doing this with every diet you've done in the past. We get more and more aggressive, right? And so now you're at a place where you're at 1200, 1400 as your maintenance. And so on anything you eat above that, you start gaining weight, which we don't want, right? But this is where like the weekend binge comes in and boom, weight gain, right? Or we see that you're just stuck here and you're just living here all the time. We cannot drop any lower because that's too stressful on our body. We start seeing more inflammation. We start seeing blood sugar issues. Hormones start to tank. Our liver detoxification gets worse. We start losing muscle mass. And so now our body can't go down any lower because that actually is going to trigger all of those things and block your fat burning pathway, push you into your storage pathway, which tells your body we have enough, let's store, even though you're eating less and moving more and eating clean and all the things. And so the issue is like, now you're stuck. What do you do? Right? How do I make my body better at burning calories? Because the other thing that you need to realize is when your metabolism is slow, the thing that happens here is that your body starts using food and transforming it into fat instead of transforming it into fuel. And so what happens is it takes a lot longer for food to enter the cells when this is happening. And so that's going to increase inflammation more. We're going to see cortisol and insulin resistance goes up, which again blocks that fat burning pathway, overstimulates that growth and storage pathway, telling your body we have enough, let's store, which is the opposite signal we want to send. We want to tell our body, hey, burn fat, but it's never getting that signal, right? And this is because metabolism has slowed down and your body is no longer good at bringing food into the cells and using it for energy. Instead, food gets turned into fat. We do not want that. And so this process is called metabolic adaptation. It slows down and you may feel like you're not doing anything differently, right? But you're struggling with your weight. You're struggling with your energy. And this is what your body does. It always tries to match calories in and your calories out. And so what happens is it's not things that you're doing outwardly, it's internally. So you see you have less food coming in and your body goes, okay, we need to pull a lever. We only have this amount of, money coming in today. What are we going to spend our money on? Well, definitely not hair integrity. So hair starts thinning and falling out. Boom, that comes down. Skin, not super important to heal. Okay, now we're going to see like more wrinkling, more sagging skin. It takes longer for things to heal. Our skin feels kind of crepey. That goes down as well. And it's going to try and preserve, right? Whatever it can, it's going to try and preserve. Hormones, not essential. Okay, we can technically survive without them, even though we feel like we're dying. So we're going to pull that lever down as well. And so it just keeps pulling levers, because it has to work with what you're giving it. When we start giving it enough food, hormones can come back up. Our hair can start growing again. Our body feels safer. Inflammation comes down. Our fat burning pathways open up. And so when our metabolism is in this state where it's really slow, everything in our body slows down because we're pulling all these levers. We see more cortisol production because it's trying to provide you with energy. We see our hormones get worse hormone production. So progesterone goes down, estrogen goes down. We don't want that. This is already happening or they're already low, right? We see worse blood sugar control because we become more insulin resistant. The longer food stays in our bloodstream and can't get into cells, the higher our blood sugars get. And when insulin is present, it pushes us into our storage pathway. We don't want that. We see our thyroid function starts to slow down. And so what happens with that is our thyroid tells our body how many calories to burn at rest. If this slows down, our body gets worse at burning calories, which makes it a lot harder to lose weight and much easier to gain weight. Okay. And we know that women, especially once they hit their 40s, their chances of getting hypothyroidism increase substantially because of hormones and stress and where we are on our chromosomes. We see our liver detoxification slow down and our detoxification slow down. That's a problem because that means then we have more toxins and inflammation in our body. Toxins have to get stored somewhere if they're not getting broken down. It gets shoved into fat cells to try and protect us. Those fat cells now increase inflammation, blocking fat burning, but also the toxins in fat cells change the structure of the fat cells, making them harder to break down, making fat loss even more challenging, and it's blocking fat burning by increasing inflammation. We see more bloating, more food sensitivities, more muscle loss, more fat gain. all of those things further make us more insulin resistant, increase inflammation more, increase cortisol more. All of those things block fat burning, stimulate your growth and storage pathway, telling your body we have enough, let's store. And this is already happening before we hit perimenopause, right? And if we cut calories even more trying to lose weight, it will cause everything to slow down even more. And this is where we see women cut calories and gain weight. This happened to me. I had to come out of it. As I started doing my reverse dieting, pulling back on exercise, I lost 7 pounds of inflammation super quick. And this is because of, everything was slowing down because it was too much stress on my body. And so all of that is going to block your fat burning and overstimulate that growth and storage pathway. And that's before we even get into perimenopause and menopause, right? Because we've dieted multiple times. So the big problem is our metabolism is not in a good place, even coming into perimenopause. We need to fix that. Okay, so then we hit perimenopause. Boom. Estrogen, progesterone, they start to decline. And we start to experience this less than enjoyable roller coaster ride that makes us even less resilient to stress. So before we could handle a 9 out of 10. Right, of stress. We could handle our dog pooping on the floor, our kids driving us crazy, our spouse driving us crazy, deadlines at work, our boss pissing us off, taking care of sick parents. We're dealing with some grief and some trauma. We're dealing with finances. We're go, go, go. We're under eating, over exercising, fasting, skipping our carbs, skipping our meals, all the things that exhaust our body. We could handle a 9 out of 10 before our stress response would kind of get turned on. Now, as those hormones decline, we can only handle a 5 out of 10. But yet now we're pushing harder, right? Demand on us gets even harder. Work, typically we're at the peak of our careers, right? We're working harder. There's more asked of us, right? We have things with our kids. We have all these things and we start cutting calories more and exercising more, which increases more stress, which again slows everything down. So your metabolism is slow. Things are not working well. Our body is not good at taking food and turning it into fuel. Instead, it takes food and turns it into fat, even though you're eating less and moving more, because all that blocks your fat burning pathway, overstimulates your growth and storage pathway. So your body's never given the signal to burn fat. So you can be doing everything right, but if we're not addressing your metabolism, we're going to struggle here. Okay. And so this is where you change potentially nothing. Right? And you hit 45, 50, whatever age it is, and it feels like the weight just started creeping up. And it's because of these hormonal changes. So you didn't change anything externally, but internally, things have really changed for you. And so everything that was already happening under the surface now slows down even more because of progesterone and estrogen. And so then we get pissed off and we're like, well, it's estrogen's fault. It's perimenopause's fault. No. Perimenopause is the thing that exposes everything that was already happening under the surface. Estrogen, you should be thanking her. She's the one that, despite doing all these things, was helping support your blood sugar. Despite doing all these things and abusing your body, it was keeping inflammation in check, was helping buffer stress, was helping to support your thyroid, was helping to support your energy, your muscle mass. She was picking up the places, everything in the house that was falling apart. And now she's sick. She disappears. She takes a hiatus. And then you're left totally aware of what the state of your house actually was and how much she was compensating. And so we should be thanking her for all of her hard service instead. But really, when she leaves, she pulls back the curtain and she's like, this is what I've been trying to deal with for the past years that you've been ignoring. I cannot do it anymore. She's that person that's in the job that is taking care of everybody else and picking up all the little things, right? Picking up all the little pieces. And the company falls apart when she leaves, right? And so this is where a lot of us are at. And so what we do is we keep pushing and pushing and we stay in this low calorie state forever. And you can see it's not helpful for us. All our body does is take food and turn it into fat instead of using it for fuel. That's why you're exhausted all the time, because your body isn't good at using food for fuel. Okay, and so we need to help your body be good at taking food, turning it into fuel instead of fat, make your body good at burning calories again, and decreasing everything else that's going on around it to make everything work better. So that way your fat burning pathway isn't blocked anymore. Your body can actually get the signal of, oh, let's burn fat. Because again, if we're not addressing this, we're going to struggle. And this is where the reverse diet comes in. So how do you know you even need one? Well, do you have 3 or more of the following things? You've been eating low calorie for more than 3 months. So we're looking at like typically 1,500 calories or less. You're struggling to adhere to your current diet. So, we're having maybe some weekend binges or some days that are really high. Do you have poor energy? Do you have poor sleep? So you struggle to fall asleep, stay asleep, or you don't wake up well rested. Those all count. Your gym performance isn't improving or it's even gone down. You have irregular or no periods, but you're not menopausal yet. You have hair loss or thinning. You have symptoms of different hormonal imbalances, the hot flashes and night sweats, the irritability, all those things. You have poor digestion or gut health issues. So we're seeing, constipation. We're not having bowel movements every day. We're having regular bloating or bloating that gets worse throughout the day. You are cold most of the time. You find social events around food very stressful. You're a chronic dieter or have done multiple diets in the past, a yo-yo dieter. You feel like you are doing everything right, but nothing is working. This is typically a really big one. If that one is the only one, usually we still have a metabolism thing going on here. If you're irritable, experiencing mood swings, you're always hungry or you are never hungry. That is a big one. That's a sign of leptin resistance. That is a sign of running on stress hormones where things are not working super great. You feel anxious frequently or constantly, and you have a low sex drive. And so those are all signs that you probably need a reverse diet, that we need to make your metabolism better, make your body better at using food for fuel instead of turning it into fat. So how do we do this? Because the whole idea of increasing calories, very scary, right? Like when you tell someone to eat more, they're like, no. Like that is so backwards from everything that I've heard before. There is no way this is going to work. Well, we've worked with thousands and thousands of women. This works every time. It takes time. It takes consistency, right? We need to heal your body. Like the more dieting that you've done in the past, the more extreme that it's been, the more stress that you've experienced, typically the longer this process is going to take. Because we can't decide the timeline of how long it takes your body to heal, right? Just like you can't decide, how quickly you're going to accelerate through a sport and make it to the top, right? All you can do is focus on the process of being consistent and doing the things, and then you get there, right? But we don't get to dictate the timeline. How your body responds and adapts and heals is going to be that. Just like post-surgery, right? Post-injury. Your physio can't tell you how long it's going to take. Your surgeon can't tell you how long it's going to take. They have an idea, but it's going to depend a lot on like, how consistent are you with rehab? How often are you doing this? Like, are you putting in the effort, right? Like that's going to dictate way more. And that's not something that I can guarantee for you, right? And so when we're looking at the reverse diet, this is where we slowly and strategically increase calories. You're not just going to jump from 1,500 calories today to 2,000 calories tomorrow. That's a terrible idea because your metabolism is at 1,500. If you just jump up to 2,000, that's a 500 calorie difference, right? Your body is still not good at taking food and turning it into fuel. It's really good at turning food and turning it into fat. So we have to do this slowly and strategically in a way that your body increases how well it is at using food for fuel as we increase the calories to maintain it. Okay. And so we want to make sure that we are focusing on increasing your strength and muscle mass here so that you can look fit and toned afterwards, right? Make your body better at turning food into fuel, decrease your hormonal symptoms, improve your organ function like your liver, get your body better with blood sugar control, and also improve your health, your energy, and your mood. That is the purpose of the reverse diet. The reverse diet, the first part of the reverse diet is not fat loss. For some people, we see it because their body will decrease inflammation so quickly because it's such a huge relief of stress to have food coming in, which is awesome. But for some people, they'll just maintain, right? Or you might see the scale go up 1 or 2 pounds. That's typically normal because they're putting on muscle mass at the same time. Or think about it. If you are standing on a scale and someone hands you a steak and potatoes, which is more than what you typically eat, right? Like you're having more food, you're going to have more food in your digestive system. The scale will likely go up a little bit. That's not fat. That's just food. That's not a bad thing. So the most effective way to do this, which nobody wants to do, but it is the answer to how you're going to get out of this, is through tracking calorie intake first. We want to see where your baseline is because we get this a lot on calls where women are like, how much should I eat? And it's like, I really need to know where your baseline is first, because if you're eating 1,400 calories right now and 60 grams of protein, and we actually need to be at 1,800 and 120 grams of protein, you're going to end up constipated. You're going to feel inflamed. You're not going to feel good if you just jump up to that. So we need to know where you are so we can give you the step-by-step of what this looks like, and also looking at consistency day to day, because then we can figure out a good average of where you should start, because that's going to tell us a lot, right? And so we want you to track how you normally eat, not how you want to eat, how you normally eat, so that we're not making massive extreme changes so your body doesn't have this crazy shock effect and then respond poorly. We want how you normally eat. There's no judgment in that. I don't care. We went out for dinner last night. Not a big deal. Still had balanced meal, but good, but scales up a little bit higher because of salt today. Someone might be like, oh, you eat out too much. That's fine, right? Earlier this week I had some ice cream. There's no judgment in that. It's normal. We want to see how you eat normally, and there is room for those foods in your diet. It doesn't have to be this crazy restrictive thing. So number one is we want to track where you are first, just 3 days. If we can get a weekend day in there, that's amazing, because a lot of people either really undereat or really overeat on the weekend. So finding like a calorie tracking app that you like. I personally love MyFitnessPal, because then I can help you. If you message me and have questions, I can help you because I know how to use it. There are so many cool tips and tricks and how to add recipes and all these things that make tracking so much easier. I don't know how to do that in other apps. So if you want to use MyFitnessPal, then I can actually help you. So you're going to track, right? And once we kind of figure that out, then we want to look at all the other biofeedback, right? We want to know what's your sleep, stress, energy, digestion, all those things. It's going to tell us a lot if you have an autoimmune condition, all that kind of stuff. And so what we want to do is typically, once we figure out where you are, we're going to increase by like 50 to 100 calories per week. Some people like to increase every other week because they're a little bit nervous to increase food. That's fine. Just that process is going to be longer. So if you have the patience for that, where you aren't going to like give up part way, then great. Like just know that the slower that you increase, like the weight increase is less likely, but it's going to get you much longer to a point where we can go into fat loss. So it's not like you just get up to maintenance and now you can go into fat loss. We need to come up to our maintenance calories where you should be, where we want your metabolism to be, right? We push your body up that way. And then we have to stay there for a bit, because your body is very smart. It remembers what you did over here. All this crazy stuff, dropping 1,200 calories. Some people, they drop their calories and their metabolism adjusts down very quickly. So if you're someone with an autoimmune condition or a very, robust dieting history, typically we are going to have to keep you at maintenance longer so that your body can kind of forget the trauma that happened from low calorie, because your body is very smart. So we need to give it enough time to forget those things. So during this reverse dieting phase, as we're increasing by 50 to 100 calories per week, typically I like to see it come up from protein first, and then we start adding carbs and fat. We want to have adequate carbs in there. That's a whole other topic. We won't get into that today. But we want to make sure that we're, increasing the right way so that your body can utilize that energy better, right? So in the reverse dieting phase, the thing is now you have more food, which is really exciting, and women love it. At first they're nervous, and then once they start getting up to the higher calories, they're like, oh my gosh, I have so much freedom. This is so great. I'm like tracking food, not to see how little I can eat, but tracking food to make sure I'm getting enough. And I have more flexibility. Like I can swap things in my meal. It's so much fun. But with a lot of freedom comes a lot of responsibility, right? That doesn't mean that you should be reaching for a donut or cinnamon buns or bags of chips all the time, right? We don't recommend restricting all of that stuff, but you want to make nutritious choices 80% of the time. 20% of the time will be like fun foods, ultra processed foods. Note, in the ultra processed fun foods, that includes protein bars. That includes low carb breads, the keto wraps, those quote unquote health foods. Those are ultra processed. So that has to be in your 20% of fun foods. So when you track, look at it and then mark which ones are whole foods, which ones are processed foods, and then figure out what the ratio is. You'll be really surprised. We do this with all of our clients. And it's very eye-opening, especially when we look at protein. A lot of women get 50% of their protein sources from processed items, which we definitely don't want. We want to have mostly whole foods. So that's a really good thing to look at as well. And remember, this time of your life is a way to, this reverse dieting process, it actually gives you the opportunity to improve your relationship with food, to enjoy food again. I will never forget the story that we had one woman tell us that she used to restrict so much. And so she told us that they had movie night with their kids, and she would always not really love it because it was just very tempting around candy, but she was always very firm with herself, and her daughter had offered her one of those like peach penguin 5-cent candies. And she said yes and took it. And her daughter was like elated. She's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you finally had one. Wasn't it so amazing? And it was this very big eye-opening moment for her where she didn't realize how much her kids were like seeing it and like how much she was missing out on like an experience and how restrictive she really was. And so that was like a really cool story where she's like, I would have never done this if I, wasn't always trying to eat so little all the time. Like, that really changed her mindset, which was great. And that like lowered her stress around it. That helps too, right? Because we know stress is going to block that fat burning pathway. And so it actually ended up being really great for her. And so this is a really great opportunity to start improving your mindset around nutrition and foods, and do some research and be curious and work on establishing some of those good habits that you can carry with you for the next number of years. So like, for this kind of stuff, this is why we offer those consultation calls. If you want those, it's in the show notes for you. Again, totally free, 15 minutes, and we can help you figure out where you're starting, where you need to get to, what that process looks like, and really do a full assessment of everything. People always ask, how long is this going to take? And again, it depends so much. It's like, where is your starting point? How long have you been dieting for? What's your past dieting history, your sleep, stress, energy, digestion, how consistent you are? That's a really big one. Typically the reverse can take, on average, we're looking at like 12 to 16 weeks. So like 3 to 4 months for a lot of women. In extreme cases though, especially if we're looking at like some autoimmune conditions, like we've had people have to do it for a year. But they're crushing it now. Like they are, I shouldn't say this, but they say like, quote unquote, weight loss feels easy, but it took a year of healing. And so you have to be willing and open to understand what your body needs. And again, we can tell you that based on your assessments and stuff like that, how long we think it's going to take. Because we've been doing this for quite a few years now, and we've worked with thousands of women. We've seen all the different cases, all the different autoimmune conditions, all the things. So we have a pretty good estimate of like how long it will take you. So now we need to address some expectations before we get into the do's and don'ts of reverse dieting. Because first and foremost, with clients coming into our coaching program, or, even on consultation calls, we go over expectations in a reverse diet, this phase 1 of coaching. This is where we really prime your metabolism. We assess everything and make sure your body will respond to fat loss, because again, it sucks to drop calories and see no changes. And so I want to discuss some of the reasons the scale might be fluctuating. I did a whole scale fluctuation podcast just recently. If you want that, message me and I will send it over to you. But we want to be, not super emotionally invested in the scale, which can be really hard. We want to focus on the other things, like how is your stress? Do you feel like you can manage it better? Is your energy improving? How are your clothes fitting? How is your sleep? Sleep and energy are probably the two that we see the most change in the most quickly. How is your bloating and digestion? That improves right away as well. And so those are typically the first things that you're going to feel. You will always feel changes before you see changes. Okay. And so we want you to understand that you're not going to lose a ton of weight in the reverse diet. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to repair and heal and set you up for successful fat loss so you can see changes. It is the most important step that everybody wants to rush through, and you cannot. I'll give you a quick little story about one of my clients from, this has got to be like 6 years ago now, maybe 7. And I always call her Penny, obviously not her real name. But Penny, I loved her, and I hated it because we had to do this like I told you so moment, and I do not like those. I would rather we don't have to have that situation. But Penny came into the coaching program, and she reversed for like 8 weeks. I want to keep her for an extra like 3 or 4. And she was like, no, I'm ready. I feel good. And I was like, Penny, I would really rather wait like 3 to 4 more weeks. Like, let's just give it 1 more month before going into fat loss. So I feel confident that you're going to see the changes that you want, because I don't want you to drop calories and not see changes. She's like, no, I'm ready. So, okay, but then I need you to sign this little paper. And if sleep gets worse, energy gets worse, symptoms get worse, we're pulling you out of it. And after 8 weeks, if we see no changes, we're also pulling you out of it. She said, okay. We go into fat loss. Week 2, no change. Usually you don't see changes for the first couple of weeks as your body holds on to water. Week 3 rolls around. Week 4 rolls around. No changes. We drop calories again. Week 5, week 6, Week 7, no changes, no changes, no changes. We hit week 8 and her sleep starts going to crap. Her hot flashes came back. Energy was terrible. So I'm like, Kate, we got to pull you out of it. So we slowly brought her back up. Took about 4 weeks to get her back up to where we wanted. And now we have to stay at maintenance for an extra like 8 to 10 weeks. Then we went into fat loss. Then she was able to see changes. So what happened was she could have gone to fat loss after 12 weeks, but she wanted to go into 8 weeks. So she added on 8 weeks of failed fat loss, plus an extra 4 weeks to come out of it, plus an extra 8 weeks to maintain before we could go into fat loss. So that's an extra 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 4 month, an extra 5 months she added to her journey before she could see fat loss. So instead of waiting 1 more month so that things would change, she ended up being impatient and having to trade that for 5 months. That's so frustrating because then we already spent 3 months before that, right? So it took her 8 months before we got into successful fat loss because she wanted to rush in after 3. We don't want that, right? We do not want that. And so we see this all of the time. And I like to tell this story because phase 1, you cannot rush. It is the most important part and it's going to determine if you will lose fat or not. It is the thing that is going to tell us, is your fat burning pathway open? Did we pull ourselves out of that storage pathway? Is our body good at taking food and turning it into fuel instead of turning it into fat? It is the most important part. And so we need to understand that, yes, we want to see changes, but man, does it suck when I have to add on an extra 5 months, right? Because we didn't do it the right way. So do's and don'ts. Do's and don'ts. So if let's say you're coaching and you're having someone help you with this, right? You do want to utilize your coach's help more than you feel you need. Always ask for help if you're working with someone. Am I, can you review my food diary? Does it look like I'm getting the right kinds of foods? Like, is there anything that I can work on? Are there other habits that I need to establish before I can go into fat loss that will help me into fat loss? Because like the reverse dieting process can feel kind of tedious because you get up to maintenance and you got to be there for a bit and you feel like you've done it, right? You've checked the boxes. Okay, now we got to make sure that we're doing other things that will also help support you in fat loss, like the stress management, because fat loss is stressful. If we're not doing stress management and honing that in before we go into fat loss, it's very easy for your body to get blocked into that fat burning state because we see inflammation and cortisol go up. So there's other things that you can be doing in your reverse diet to help set you up for success for fat loss. You want to make sure, like I mentioned, you're eating whole foods 80 to 90% of the time, right? Yes, we can have some protein bars and protein powders here or there, but if it's something you're having every single day, that's not an emergency thing anymore. That's just poor planning. We know that those things are going to, have a ton of fake fibers, a ton of sugar alcohols, fake sugars, all those things, which can actually cause a lot more inflammation in people, make their gut health worse as well. And that inflammation from worse gut health is going to block your fat burning pathway. We don't want that. This whole purpose of this is to make your body better at taking food and turning it into fuel. Inflammation will, be kind of a roadblock there. And so we want to make sure that we're addressing that. So make sure we're having lots of whole foods in there. The next one, like I mentioned, is do not rush it, right? If you are in coaching, listen to your coach. They have worked with probably hundreds and thousands of women. They know what to look for and if you are ready for fat loss or not. If it's the best season for you, they are learning your body with you, for you, to teach you about your body, because we don't know, right? Otherwise you wouldn't be struggling if you truly understood your body. And so they are going to tell you when you are ready to guarantee those positive results, because again, it sucks to cut calories and not see changes. They're not doing it to punish you. They're doing it so you can be successful. Do keep your same way of eating. Until your coach tells you or anything like that, keep the same routine of eating. We're starting with small changes because we want to see what your body responds best to, right? So we want to make sure that we're not making any big drastic changes all the time. So, pay attention to the timing of your meals. We're eating breakfast within 90 minutes of waking. Eating a big balanced meal every 4 to 5 hours. That should have carbs, that should have protein, that should have some healthy fats in there. We have our veggies in there too, our carbs. And so we're eating most of our protein and veggies before dipping into our carbohydrates. This happens at every single meal forever for the rest of your life. This helps with blood sugar control, inflammation, keeping you full longer, keeping those fat burning pathways open. That's what we want. So those are staples that are going to be there for your entire life. We're not having small snacks all the time. We're not grazing all the time. We're not skipping meals. Those things are going to block fat burning, and we don't want that. So those are things that you're going to have to do forever. And these aren't things that you're just doing for now so you can get on with the rest of your life. These are things that are becoming part of your life so you can live the life that you want. So you have to change your mindset around that. The other thing is, do not freak out by the scale, like I mentioned, right? Some people might see a little bit of a drop. Most people are going to stay pretty much the same with a fluctuation of 2 to 5 pounds. That's super normal. Like that is normal fluctuations from, salt and water and fiber and carbs. And if you ate a little bit later, if you're constipated or not, if you're hydrated, like there's so many things that influence this. Poor night's sleep, if you worked out hard the next day. 2 to 5 pounds fluctuation, very normal. That's how you're maintaining, right? As long as we're not seeing it go up, 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 that's great. We're taking our weekly averages and looking at that. Do expect to feel better. You should expect to feel better way before you see changes. And so this can be better sleep, better energy, better strength in the gym, digestion improves, less hormonal symptom side effects. You have appropriate hunger cues again. A lot of people message me panicking because they're hungry in the morning. That's a good sign. That's your body going, okay, we're ready for fuel. That's good. That means your body is like, hey, we need food for fuel. That's good. We want that. We're supposed to feel hungry. That's a good sign that your metabolism is coming back up. This is the hardest one. Don't get impatient. The reverse diet is meant to be a slow and progressive process so your body can adapt to the changes appropriately. That way it's not going to perceive it as stress and then block your fat burning pathways more. So sometimes if we jump up too high or too fast or change things too quickly, your body's not going to like it. So we got to change one thing at a time and see how your body responds. Some people's bodies respond really well to exercise. Some people respond better to calorie changes, right? And so mine's one that responds really great to exercise compared to food changes. And so my body perceives food changes as stress versus my workouts. But this is only figured out by changing one thing at a time and adjusting. Okay. Then you do want to work on your relationship with food. This is a big one. There's no good foods and bad foods. Foods are neutral. It's just good application or poor application, right? So we have our healthy foods, quote unquote, what people always call healthy foods, right? Our whole foods, our fruits, our veggies, our lean meats, our potatoes, all those things. All foods are neutral, but we want to eat more of those. That's the proper application of that. Then we have donuts and candy and chips and protein bars and keto wraps and all those kinds of things, which I don't love, right? Because we know if we have too much of those, we're going to be more inflamed. And so again, neutral food, it's learning to apply it properly. So too much or too little of one thing can really throw things off. That doesn't mean it's good. It just has more nutritional value than others. Some have more calories, some have less, right? Like if we're looking at volume, nuts have way more calories than a salad. Does that make one better than the other? No, right? So it's all about understanding what's your food made of, how does it respond in your body, what is it providing your body with, and being able to understand that. So we're improving your nutritional literacy, you're learning, you're being curious. Right? This is an opportunity to improve your understanding and developing skills that you can take with you for the rest of your life. Right? Like you don't have to track food forever, but it's a tool that you can use later when you need to. But this whole process can be so eye-opening. Where is most of my fiber coming from? When I don't have enough fiber, what am I typically lacking from my meals, right? What's not there? When I'm low on protein, where are my highest protein sources? My foods that are higher in antioxidants. There's so many things to be curious about and learn about to set you up for the rest of your life. And remember, unless you have a specific food allergy, for me, it's soy, not good. There are no good or bad foods, right? There are no foods that are going to cause specific weight gain and weight loss, right? Learning to unpartner yourself from those beliefs is really important. It's all about learning application. How much and when. If I'm going to have a donut, for example, I'm going to have it right after a meal. Because after a meal, because I've had my lean meats and I've had my veggies in there, I know that my blood sugar is going to be more stable because things are digesting more slowly, emptying my stomach more slowly. So my blood sugar spike isn't as high. Having a donut right after that meal will avoid a blood sugar spike. Whereas if I had a donut on its own, super high blood sugar spike, big drop, energy crash, more cravings, more insulin, pushing me into that fat storing pathway. And so it's all about learning what to eat when. If I want to have this, when's the best time to have it? That's what this is all about. You also want to use this as an opportunity to work on your relationship with yourself. Practice some self-compassion. Practice some self-acceptance. When we can focus on our self-worth and realize that, our bodies don't determine our worth. That scale does not tell you if you're a good mom. That scale does not tell you if you're a good partner. It doesn't tell you anything. Just gravitational pull in that very moment. I think back about my mom and all the memories we have. And I miss her so much. And I cannot tell you on any given day how much she weighed because it didn't matter to me. I cannot tell you what size of clothes she wore because that didn't matter to me. I cannot tell you, anything about her weight and fat loss and all those things. Like, I remember how much she loved me. I remember her laugh. I remember going for walks with her, spending time together, feeling safe with her, being able to tell her anything and knowing that no matter what I did, she would always love me. That's what I remember. And so you have to realize that you matter so much more than the scale. And this process helps so much because you'll have more energy. You're going to feel better. You'll be sleeping better. And when you have those changes in your mood, in your energy, in your sleep, it's a lot easier to meet yourself with self-compassion and do this kind of work, because when you are exhausted all of the time, when you are just tired and feeling hopeless and you're irritable and you're hungry and you're frustrated and you're not sleeping well, it's really hard to love yourself. Let's be honest. And so this is a really beautiful path to healing. And we see it with women all of the time. And it is honestly my favorite part. Yes, fat loss is amazing and we're working on your health. But when I get to see the stories that women share with us and just the wins that we have, like our coaches will share little screenshots of stories that women share with us and how they're feeling and their wins. And that's what I love more than anything else. And the reverse diet really does provide you with the opportunity to do that, because you're finally focused on eating for your health. We're not just chasing weight loss. We are focused on healing. Yes, weight loss is a goal that you'll get to, right? But in the moment, it's I need to heal my body so that I can experience that. And part of that is that mental side of things, the emotional side of things, right? And so we do have to work on consistency in here with the mindset stuff and our nutrition as well, right? We are not expecting perfection. You will fail. Don't be afraid of it. Every failure is an opportunity to learn. It is not something you should be ashamed of. You want to make mistakes faster so you can learn from them, so you can get past it. That's what you want to do. And if you look at any successful person, that's what they do, right? They keep being consistent. When they make a mistake, okay, that didn't work. How can I pivot and keep going? That's what we're looking for, right? And so if you are working with a coach, it's awesome because you get to fail forward, because we get to talk about your mistakes with you. You get to fall forward. Oh, this happened. Awesome. How do we address this? How can we, A, prevent this from happening in the future? B, if it does happen, how can we better be prepared? We get to work on that with you so that when things inevitably come up again, you can make a better decision next time. And that's what it's always about, is learning. And that's where having a coach can be helpful in this, because sometimes it can be tough to navigate on your own, but trying to keep that mindset of, oh, I didn't do what I wanted, or I wasn't consistent, or my calories were too low, or they fluctuated too much. This is, be open to that mindset of learning, because if you aren't, it makes it very challenging. Do temper your expectations. I think it's always a good idea to make sure that to ask yourself, like, what are my expectations and what's actually realistic for me? Because I'll be honest, I will probably never have abs again, like visible abs. And I'm actually really okay with it. And the reason is like I have to get to a very lean body fat percentage to show that. And the reason is my torso is very small. And when I gain weight, it's typically going to be in my belly. And so I have to get to a crazy lean body fat percentage, which is not healthy for me. And I don't even think I can get my body to that place anyways, because to be that lean requires a lot of stress on my body. Like it has to be so incredibly dialed and quite a low calorie intake for me. It's not sustainable long term. And I have fought way too hard for my hormones to be in a better place now. I am not willing to sacrifice that for anything. And so, I'm still happy with my size. I'm still happy with the way that my body looks most days, right? We have struggles. But I'm okay with not having that because being that lean is not realistic for me and it's not healthy for me. When we're looking at your reverse diet, like you can't compare yourself to anyone else. Only compare yourself to yourself and how you used to be like your yesterday, right? How can I be better today? How can I do better today? Because when we compare ourselves to others, we're only comparing ourselves to like the best situation, right? We never compare ourselves to the people who are struggling. We never compare ourselves to the person who took 4 years to get to where they are, right? We're not comparing ourselves to someone who has even remotely the same history as us, the same traumas, the same stressors, same lifestyle, right? And so it's more important to be curious, right? Like if you don't have anything to go off of, just remain curious and you're learning your body. You have to remember to think about that. You also shouldn't get married to a trend. This is a big one because things will change, right? What looks one way in weeks 1, 2, 3 might look different in weeks 4, 5, 6. You have to be okay to understand that we're not going to see a linear change or like zero change on the scale during this. Your body is going to adapt and then we're adapting with you, right? Your body needs time to heal and that's not always point A to point B. Like think of anyone who's had a surgery, who's had an injury. The comeback looks different for everyone, right? And so you need to be more focused on you and your journey than anybody else's and be okay with the fact that it's not going to be linear because it will never be linear. I promise you that. That's one thing I can guarantee. Make sure you're celebrating the small wins. Let your brain recognize the good. Our body, our brain is always looking for patterns. It is always searching for what you are looking for. When you look for the good, it will show you more good. If you look for the bad and the reasons it's not working, it will keep showing you every reason that it's not working, even if there's more good ones. Even if there's more proof that it is working, you will just focus on the reason that it's not. And that negative mindset will crush you. It will stop you from going forward. It will cause you to give up and self-sabotage. So don't downplay your small wins. So many of us don't celebrate our wins because we think it makes us look arrogant or braggy. No, you slept through the night. Celebrate that. You woke up with feeling hunger in the morning. Amazing. Like celebrate your wins. And a lot of us don't celebrate them because we are terrified that we will be wrong and potentially fail in the future. Oh my gosh, we had a client, I can think of her right now, and who was crushing it in fat loss, absolutely crushing it. And she would never post positive wins when we were doing weekly check-ins with her. And it was because she was so afraid that it would go away. Fear of failure in the future prevented her from living and enjoying her life right now. And then we finally got her to a point where she was feeling good and she was happy and was acknowledging her wins, which is amazing. But it took her a long time to get to a point where she allowed herself to celebrate the wins. Don't do that. Don't waste your way not enjoying it and being proud of yourself until you get to a certain point. That's a waste of life. Don't do that. Enjoy it. The other things that I do want to just highlight too is make sure you're not jumping up too quickly, like we mentioned. I wanted to touch on what 100 calories actually looks like because people are like, I can't eat more. Eating 100 calories more every single week sounds crazy. 100 calories can be like a slice of cheese. 100 calories is like 10 pistachios, three walnuts. 100 calories, like it doesn't have to be super complicated. Like don't make it more complicated than it already is. Just increase what you're already eating, but like nuts, seeds, dairy, chicken thigh versus chicken breast. Very easy ways to up your calories without a ton of volume where you're not going to feel super hungry. Everyone can add an extra slice of cheese into their day. And also cheese is delicious. It's my favorite. Remind yourself of the purpose of the reverse. It's not fat loss. When appetite increases, that is a good sign. Cooking oils, like I mentioned, are a really good thing to think of. Don't forget to log those as well. Even if it's the spray, try and add like an extra 5 calories. When you are increasing, do not increase protein and fiber too quickly. Typically, I like to see fiber come up by like 2 to 3 grams per week until we get to like 20 to 30. And then protein, I like to increase by like 5 to 10 grams each week, because if you increase too quickly, they are harder to digest, which can lead to bloating, which then you're not going to feel very good. So make sure that you're increasing slowly. And those are the biggest like do's and don'ts of the reverse, why we're doing it, why it's important. Again, I know this can seem overwhelming because there's a lot of information and people are very afraid to eat more. This is why we do the free consultation calls, because it shouldn't be this hard to have someone take the time to understand your body, get to know you, and then just give you some guidelines to do it on your own. There is no catch. There is no strings attached. It is literally just a call to assess things and give you a starting point and give you some guidelines. If you want to take advantage of that, it is in the show notes for you. It's the consultation call. I love you so much. Share this with your friends who might be struggling, who think that their food is getting turned into fat instead of fuel. This is the solution. If you have questions, please let me know. I love you so much. Bye.